All right, welcome back to our weekly interviews. We have been going through this sermon series on being disciples of Jesus and what it looks like. What are the outcomes that we see in the life of a disciple of Jesus? And this past week, we were talking about serving in all of life. It's not just that we do acts of service here and there, but we live lives of service, and we have servants' hearts. That's what Jesus has called us to. And we looked at John chapter 13, verses 1 through 20, where Jesus washes the disciples' feet. And he even washes Judas's feet, which is pretty amazing to me. And so he washes the disciples' feet, and he essentially tells them, go and do likewise. I am your master and teacher. I've washed your feet. Now you go and wash the feet of others. And so he calls us to service. And in the life of a disciple, we expect to see people serving in all of life. And so today I've got Sean and Renie with me here. We're going to be doing our interview with them. Sean and Renie have been at Renewal since the beginning, right? They've been here since the beginning, and they've been serving. In fact, sometimes you might hear me asking for people to serve in an area, and I'll say something like, we need someone not named Sean and Renie to serve in this area, because they serve us very well and very often. And so I thought they were the perfect people to do an interview with this week. So welcome, guys. Thank you for being here and submitting to putting yourselves out there on the internet for all the world to see. And so just got a couple of questions for you guys today. Same questions I've been asking people all along, but just in terms of serving in all of life. And the first question is, after you became believers, who was it that taught you the importance of serving as a disciple of Jesus? Who taught you the importance and like how to do it?
Okay, I'll go first. I don't know if I could really point it to one specific individual, but I think just seeing it in the lives of some of the guys that were in my lives when we first started going to Randall and then Renewal, just spending time around Milo and Kyle, Pastor Dick, and just everyone was just engaged in doing something, and yeah, just spending time in community with those guys and watching them work. And it didn't happen, interestingly enough, it didn't happen as a result of an invitation in the church lobby. It was actually Milo just walking across the street, because we hadn't even met Milo yet, but we were going to the same church. Mm-hmm. He just neighborly walked across the street, said, "Hey, new neighbor, we got this going on. Interested in helping?" And I was like, "Okay." Yeah. So it was really just being neighborly.
So,
hey,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Can you help?
Yeah. So it wasn't necessarily somebody sitting down and saying, "Hey, you need to serve." It was just like, "Hey, come serve," right? I mean, and you saw them do it, and you followed.
I was looking for something to do. I wanted to do something, but I wasn't walking around, what can I do? Hey, what can I do here? What can I do here? It was just somebody coming up and saying, "I got this that needs to get done. Can you help?" Yeah. And that's where it started,
Very cool. Anything you'd add to that, or are you about the same?
It's very similar, the same. I know my spiritual gift is serving, and when I started my Christian walk, I just had people around me just reinforce and reassure me that this service is what the Bible calls us to do and what Scripture says. And so it wasn't anybody really in particular for me either. I just I just enjoy serving. It's very natural for me. So it kind of like became to where I learned the importance of serving while I was already doing it. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. Excellent. What impact have you seen serving? Whether it's other believers or it's unbelievers or whoever it may be, what impact have you seen serving make on your life? Like, have you seen it actually change you as you serve other people?
Yeah, I think it gives me just peace and like fulfillment. It's like when you like when you build something and you work on something, when you're done, you can stand back and, and that's what we were created for. And it's just a fulfillment purpose when you bless people with your time or whatever you have. That's how God blesses you, by just, giving you that fulfillment.
Yeah.
And peace and joy and helping people.
So would you say you've seen yourself like grow even in your heart for service? Like the more you serve, do you see yourself getting kind of, we all get tired after we serve, right? But do you see it as a thing that like kind of drain you over time, or something that kind of like builds up your love for serving people more?
It builds up. I think it builds up overall in the long term. It builds up your love for serving people, because you understand you've gotten that biblical mindset over how you interact with people in the world, and so you understand that the blessings that come from it, and that your hope is set on that, not on that present moment, that present struggle, and that present selfishness of giving up my time and doing this, but it's just the pleasure of serving that individual and serving the Lord in the process. And my hope is set on Him in the future and the blessings that He's gonna, give me for those things. For
sure. Yeah. Paul tells us to be rich in good works, right? Like, don't be rich toward ourselves. And we'll even see that in the passage we're looking at this coming week as we talk about stewarding life generously. Jesus says, don't be rich toward yourself, but be rich toward God. And he certainly does make us rich in various ways, and fulfillment, right? And as well as knowing that there is a reward in eternity as we store up treasures in heaven by doing such things. Renie, what would you say it looks like just in normal everyday life to be practicing serving other people? How do you find the time? You've got kids, you got a grandkid that's around a lot, you've got dogs that need attention and everything. What does it look like just to make time for serving other people? What does it look like to serve people on a regular basis?
For me, it's a natural thing. And I'll have to say, maybe some of the housework doesn't get done because I'm out serving other people. I'm out connecting. It's for me, service is building fellowship also. Serving others, I get to know other people. I get to be in my community. I get to live life and fellowship with others. So things that need to get done just get done. And it seems like there are definitely times that I dwell and I think about, I'm not going to have the time. Where is this? And I'll feel the pressure, but it just all works out. It's like God gives me the time to get it all done. And there are also times that I will have to, I'll make the choice to say, you know what, I can't fully serve in this capacity. It's the peace that God gives me to actually say that, because rather than just spread myself thin and try to do everything or try to serve so much, I can actually focus and make the service and make it all intentional and not just try to get it all done.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I think even that is a part of serving others in a way, right? Like, I know I can overpromise myself a lot of times, and then I end up not doing the thing I said I would do, because no human on this earth could possibly do all of the things I said yes to, right?
Right.
And so that doesn't serve anybody, right? But I will try to point, if somebody is in need of help with someone and I can't do it, I'll try to at least point them somewhere else. And on top of that, if Renie does all the serving, then other people don't get to grow in that serving, right? Like, Sean was talking about growing in serving the more he serves and growing in that heart for serving. And building up, and I was talking about building up treasure in heaven, and that reward of when we go to be with Christ. But like we take that away from other people if we try to do it all, right? And then we ended up not doing it all anyway, and it just becomes a big mess. And so that's a great point, to make sure that you do say no sometimes. Not to mention, like, the Lord calls us to spend time with Him, right? The very first one we talked about in this series was communing with God daily. And we want to make sure we have time for that. We want to make sure of all of those things. So, do you ever get in just like a rut when it comes to, like, your attitude towards serving, maybe, or what does a rut look like when you get in a rut, in terms of serving others?
I've definitely, I've experienced that early on, and in the church, serving in the church, and there were times that I didn't know how to say no. I didn't know to go to God in prayer and ask and calm my heart, and so burning out looked, it taken away everything from other aspects of my life, and not, like you said, not giving the opportunity to build those relationships so other people could serve alongside me. And so there were burnout times that just looked like I wanted to just check out, just go in another direction, just turn around and walk away from all of it. And it's a hard time. It was a hard time, but I know now that serving, I haven't encountered very much burnout because, like you said, it's serving along with others. And,
and you kind of talked about that too, right? Where, like, or maybe it was you, like the community aspect of serving, right? Like, and so even as you bring others along, not only do you not burn out, but like it's actually even a way of like building you up, right? As you kind of build that community with others. What about you, Sean? Have you ever felt like you were kind of in a rut, and what did that mean? What did that look like?
Yeah, for sure. For me, it was just trying to do too many things, and just jumping in every opportunity to do things and not really focusing on my gift, just saying, do this. You just got to get involved in everything. And, and it got to be too much. And what really grounds me, I think, and sometimes, like what you said, I think in the sermon, or maybe it was in the class last week, you get into that, sometimes you're speaking to yourself, like, I've done enough, why can't somebody else do it? All these things going on, and those things, of course, the enemy attacks it with that kind of stuff. And what really grounds me is, well, you just said it, is, communing with God daily. And what I've been reading lately, and I've been really just spending time in, is really Colossians chapter 1, the preeminence of Christ. And I love that piece because it shows us who Christ is from the beginning, that everything was created by Him and through Him and for Him, and He is the glue that holds it all together. And, I'm given peace and forgiveness through His blood. And then it shows who I am at the end too, and I like reading it. What really brings it home for me to get me grounded again is when I read it, I switch perspectives to like the first person. So it's me that he's talking to. So I was alienated. I was his enemy because of my sin that I was committing in my life. And yet, by the blood of Christ, I'm redeemed and restored. Right. And really, just spending, I like to just stay in one passage for a while and just read it again and again and again and just meditate on it instead of trying to get through all of Colossians this morning. It's just like, just keep spending time in that same thing. Let it just keep soaking in. And that just really just gets to my heart,
Yeah.
especially for me, when I read it in that first person perspective, like it's planting it.
Yeah, for sure.
In my heart. And I just remember who he is and what he's done and who I am and all that. And that just breaks my heart for him.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you mentioned that passage in Colossians 1. Was it like 15 through 23 or something like that? As it goes a little further into 1 and starts to switch into 2, you see Paul in that next major section of Colossians, he's talking about how he gives himself away in service to the church. So right. There is that natural progression, like, yes, Christ is preeminent in all things. He has made peace with us through, or for us with God by his blood. We're no longer alienated. And so he says, so I serve, and so that's why I serve. And so, that's a great passage to think about and think through. And, for you at home, maybe the Lord has been laying on your heart some way that he is calling you to serve. And we talked this past Sunday about how we serve in both spiritual need and physical need. And whichever, kind of focus we have on this particular way of serving, let's say we're serving, somebody who's in like a physical need. We still serve the spiritual need as well. And even when we're serving their spiritual need and sharing the gospel with people, we're looking to serve their physical need as well. And so maybe you have something that the Lord has been laying on your heart, or maybe you're somebody who's just like, it's like, I know I should serve, or I want to serve, I just don't know how to serve. You can come and talk to any of the three of us, as well as Joe, our other elder here, as well as Nick, who does the youth and young adult ministry. And we would love to get you plugged in with serving. We have plenty of opportunities to serve both here on Sundays and in many other ways. But that's what Jesus calls us to do, is to serve in every kind of way, to be rich in good works, to build up other believers in Christ. And so we want to call you to do that, because that's what Jesus calls us to do. And so I hope you were encouraged by the interview with Sean and Renie today. Thank you guys for coming. I know we're kind of like, you got here right after work and you're about to go somewhere else. You're about to run out the door. And so thank you guys for giving us the time in doing that. Hope it was encouraging to you. And we look forward to seeing you next week. This Sunday, we are going to be talking about stewarding life generously. And so that is basically taking any kind of resource God has given you, whether it's your money, your stuff, your time, your abilities, and stewarding it or using it, investing it for the kingdom of God, rather than just keeping it all to yourself. And so we'll be here Sunday morning, 10 o'clock a.m. We'll be here Sunday night, 6 p.m. Oh, no, actually this week, we won't be here Sunday night. We'll be here right after the morning worship gathering. So plan to stay for a while after that. We'll have food. Hopefully, we'll have food, and we'll do that. We'll talk about stewarding life generously once again. And then next week we'll be back with another interview. And so we look forward to seeing you all with all of those things coming up. We'll see you then.